Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
January 4, 2020, the Hyperconverged Analytics Edition. What is Hyperconverged Analytics? And thanks for asking. It brings together data science, streaming capabilities, and visual analytics in a seamless experience that provides smart, real-time, and immersive business insights. The cutting-edge approach goes past rear-view business intelligence to accelerate data-informed decisions. Expert sources are scant and expensive, yet the power that data brings can remain the main achievement factor of an effective organization. By eliminating the requirement for expert abilities for each data request, you can enable customers to rethink what analytics are. Hyperconverged analytics is a journey for organizations. The pandemic has indicated that organizations are not ailing in data, they simply have poor access. Along these lines, CCO types have no clue about the operational level directors new and lost with immediate clarity. So, sounds like this will be something we'll have to keep on our radar for CCOs going forward. This comes to us from a first-time contributor to the Daily Compliance News, the AnalyticsInsight. From an old friend, the Washington Post, 6 ways your office will be different in 2021, assuming you ever get back to it. Well, number 1, as recruiting and remote go national, some salaries ranges will as well. Video chats will get smarter and potentially creepier. That's not good. The new hybrid workplace will have more time constraints than you think. The social bubble will come to the office. Many employers will ask workers if they've been vaccinated, even if they don't require it, and part-time arrangements will be making a comeback. So how is that going to impact your compliance program and your employees? Well, that's something you're going to have to watch. Next up from the Wall Street Journal, 10 things CFOs are going to be keeping an eye on in 2021. What are they? The economic recovery, the corporate tax obviously will go up under Biden. Regulation will be tightening also under Biden. Trade will be looking for potential change to U.S. trade policies. Cash and capital expenditures. Liquidity in the early months of the Biden administration will be watched closely. Mergers and acquisitions, remote work, dividends and share buybacks. One thing that will certainly go up is ESG disclosures. And we will be transitioning from LIBOR, as I reported in the last edition of the Daily Compliance News. So CFOs will be looking at lots of different topics. And finally, our last article relates to the National Defense Authorization Act, which was passed, and another part of the changes to the AMLA. The antiquities trade, which regulators have long feared provided fertile ground for money laundering and other illicit activities, will now be subject to increased oversight and regulation. Basically, the same laws that apply to banks will be applied to antiquities sellers. Many believe this type of legislation is long overdue. Obviously, dealers have resisted this, but with the new legislation move to broaden the 1970 Bank Secrecy Act, there'll be increased federal scrutiny, certainly including the trading in ancient artifacts, but also looking at how that money is used, whether there's shell companies involved, and if that money will be used to elicit funds for combating terrorism financing. So lots of good changes in the NDAA around money laundering. We're going to be taking a look at some of the other changes beyond simply the Bank Secrecy Act in the coming days, so stay tuned. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.